I see it's 4:30, and I'm going to go ahead and get started as people come on in. And it's so nice to see so many of you already letting us know who you are. Welcome, everybody. So again, my name's Audrey Stevenson. I'm a study advisor with the Faculty of Economics and Business, and I will be your moderator today. As you can see, we've got you all on mute, and we have your video turned off. The reason we have your video turned off is so that we minimize the data needed to stream this. So it would be great if you could please keep your video turned off. And you're on mute so that we can minimize the distractions from background noise if we all keep our microphones off. Great, and you're all already introducing yourself. Thank you very much. It's really neat to see. People are spread far and wide, so wonderful that you could all be here with us today. We also have a question for you. We want to know who is interested in starting this September and who of you is planning on starting next year in September 2021. I'm going to launch a poll, and let's see here. So when you get a second, please let us know when you're planning to join us, or when you're thinking you would join us if you do decide to come to the UvA for Business Administration. And Frank, could you take us to the next slide, please? So here you see what we have planned for you today. I'm welcoming you right now. And then after that, we have two short presentations. The first is from Professor Frank Belshak, Program Director for the Bachelor's of Business Administration. He's one of the main people in charge of who created the program. So it's great that we can hear from him today all about the program. We will also have a talk on the admissions process from Eva van Alphen, an admissions officer. She is our resident expert on all things admissions related for business administration. So very good that we have her here today to speak with us too. Let me check on the poll and see how we're doing. There's another minute left for the poll. We will share those results shortly. So once again, everybody, welcome. And just a reminder, please keep your video turned off and your sound on mute. That way we can minimize distractions and the amount of data needed to stream this. All right. Oh, the poll has been running for that long, I see. Okay, so we have 85% of you were able to let us know. I'm gonna go ahead and share the results of the poll that we have so far. And then we'll get started with our presentation. So you can see 47% of you are thinking of starting this September, and 53% of you are thinking of starting next year. So about half and half. Great, good to know. Thank you all, and I will now hand it over to Frank. Oh, I forgot to tell you two important things. I'm sorry. The questions. If you have questions, please put them in the, type your questions into the chat group, and we will answer your questions as they pop up if we can. We will also select a few questions to ask the presenters after their talks. So yes, please type any questions you may have into the chat group. And that was really everything. All right, enjoy. Frank, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Audrey. Welcome everybody also from my side. I'm Frank Belshak. I'm the Program Director of the Bachelor's in Business Administration here in Amsterdam. And I'm a professor of leadership and change. So this is what I do in everyday life when I'm not managing the program. I guess it might be interesting for you to know a little bit the details about what is business administration. Well, as the name already says, business administration is the administration of an organization, and that can be any kind of organization. So it can be a for-profit organization, but also a non-profit organization. or a governmental organization. And the administration includes basically all kinds of aspects related to business life in the broadest sense. So strategy, the organization of the business or of the organization per se, operations management, accounting, marketing, finance, human resources, managing your people that are running out there on the work floor. So anything. All of these different aspects are part of business administration. So it's a pretty nice, interesting package of different topics. So this is the curriculum. What maybe jumps into the eye is that it's quite diverse, like I already indicated. This is because it's multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary means that our starting point is a business problem that we want to solve. And for solving it, we use whatever tools we need. And sometimes it could be mathematical tools, like for instance, should I invest my money in project A or B? And this is a mathematical problem. So you need to make some estimations about probabilities and about values. And you can just then calculate what would be objectively the best decision to make. But it could be also something more psychological. For instance, if you're having let's say an advertisement campaign and you're wondering which advertisement is better. Should I position it like that or rather like that? Should I choose from music A or B? Then probably it's a psychological question. So you want to decide which music works best for stimulating people to purchase your product. So you will see that we have social sciences, mathematics, but also economics. And you see that back also in the program. So this is the program of the first year. The first year you can see different disciplines. We call it the 4 pillars. So the 4 pillars are people, organization, economics, and methods. And you see it back in principle of economics, so that's the economics pillar. Then you see strategy and organization, that's the organization pillar. You see business research methods and quantitative data analysis, that's the methods. And then you see organizational behavior, that's the people side. So first we start out with the basics, different disciplines, but of course only the aspects that are really related to business life and that we need. After that, we move over to the different business functions, or what you could also say is something like the different departments in a company. And it starts off basically at the second semester in the first year. So you see there operations, you see accounting, and then the second year you see marketing, more of accounting, finance, and then in the rest of the second year, innovation, law, information and data management. So all of the different departments that you would find in a company. And it starts out relatively simple in the sense that it's only marketing or finance or accounting. And later on, it gets more complex and integrative topics like innovation management, for instance. They have strategy aspects, marketing aspect, human relations aspect, financial aspects. So the second semester courses are more integrative, more complex. What you may have also noticed is in the second year, but also the first year, you had projects. And those projects are more skills based. So basically you have in period 1 and 2 always more knowledge based courses, as you might know them from school. So you learn about marketing. Of course, you learn also applications and cases, but it's more or less learning about. Whereas in the projects, you're really doing something. It's learning by doing, actively doing things yourself in group work. And we start out with a project in academic reading and writing skills. We move over to qualitative skills, so like conducting interviews. And then we have quantitative skills like writing reports, like for instance, a poll about job satisfaction or work engagement monitors, or something like a marketing research project. And then in the second semester, in the end, you have a real practical company project where you try to apply all of the things you have learned so far really into practice. So this is year 3. And then we move over to our probably more defining year. This is year 3, because by the end of year 2, you have a broad overview of all kinds of different aspects of business administration, which is great because it gives us the freedom to let you tailor your own program in year 3. So in year 3, you basically have a lot of choices that you can make to fill in your program as you see fit, as you feel fits best with you. So in the first semester, you can choose between an internationalization, so go abroad, or a broadening your scope, a more general academic study by choosing for a minor. A minor is kind of a half-year mini bachelor's program on a different topic. So let's say philosophy, art history, Chinese language, programming skills, whatever. We have more than 100 different minors at the University of Amsterdam that you can choose from. And the third choice would be more practice. Then you stay in the realm of business administration, but you want to go for more practical things, so you choose for doing the internship in combination with some more practice-oriented electives, like, for instance, business analytics skills or consultancy skills. So these are your options in the first semester. In the second semester, it's specialization time, which basically means that you can choose one out of the 4 different business administration topics or specializations that we have prepared. And those 4 specializations are accounting, finance, entrepreneurship and innovation, and management. So accounting is about either how to report numbers correctly, because you have to do balances, for instance, that you need to present to external parties, but you also need to keep track of all of your internal things like bookkeeping, so that you know exactly what your costs are, monitoring. This is part of accounting. Then you have finance, which is basically, let's say, about getting money, so that's the finance part, and spending money, that's the investment part. And it's also about risk management. That would be covering finance. Then you have entrepreneurship and innovation, and that would be, on the one hand, entrepreneurship, so setting up your own business, but also intrapreneurship, so basically showing entrepreneurial behavior in your own big company. For instance, Google, if you take a look in job advertisements, you see quite often that people ask for employees with an entrepreneurial attitude. So it's not only for people who want to set up their own business, but also for people who are more generally interested in being more proactive and more entrepreneurial and interested in innovation. Or we have also in there courses like digital business models. And then last not least, we have management in the digital age, which is about strategy, marketing, and management, but all with a twist towards the digital age. So strategy and technological change, what are the specific challenges in technological ages, or how can you use specific technological tools like AI for marketing purposes? How do you manage virtual teams? So strategy, marketing, and management, but then related to more digital questions. So those are the 4 specializations. You need to spend your whole last semester on this topic. So this is pretty much the defining thing which sets our program apart from other business administration programs in the Netherlands. Which gets me straight away to the next questions. So now you've heard something, what is business administration, but probably some questions pop up. Okay, this is business administration, but what is then the difference between business administration, as you explained it, and some other stuff? For instance, what's the difference between business administration and international business administration? Well, you can see that other universities, like, for instance, Erasmus University, Rotterdam School of Management, they offer international business administration. Or Tilburg University is offering international business administration. So what's the difference to our BA program? Well, I would answer none. So there is no real definition about international business administration. What most people take as vital component or characteristics of international business administration is that you have international teaching staff, which we have, that it's a fully English language program, which we do. It's that you have international student body. So we have that. Usually, roughly about 50% of our student body is international. And that the courses are international. So we always use international cases in all our courses, and then basically cases from all continents all over the world. So not only European cases or only American cases, but we have some Asian cases, some European cases, some American cases. So we spread them across the whole world. And we do have explicitly courses like international business or international management that address international aspects for the whole duration of a course. And last not least, internationalization. Maybe you remember in the first semester of the 3rd year, you do have the option to go abroad and spend your time, the first half year of the 3rd year, at one of our partner universities all over the world. So we have more than 100 different partner universities to which you could go to. So I would argue business administration, as we teach it here, is the same as international business administration. And honestly, I don't see how you could do business administration without being international, because it's a global village. You need to hire international people. Your customers are international. Your suppliers are international. So basically, if you don't have a two-person company, business administration is basically always international. So the next question that might pop up is, well, okay, so I've heard something about business administration here at the University of Amsterdam, but how is that different from business administration at other Dutch universities? And to be honest, it's not that much different. I would argue that probably 80 to even 90% of the programs are the same. There are marginal differences, of course. What has set us apart from others in the beginning was that we had the specialization, but as always happens, if you have successful features, other people pick them up. So from this year onwards, almost all universities have also specialization, even though we have driven it a little bit further than anybody else, giving you the whole second semester, so 6 months of specialization. Others have maybe slightly less, but by and large, they all have these features. So you will really have to run through the program. So you can also see some differences, though. So for instance, in Rotterdam, you see that the harbor is there. It's very important. So you see that supply chain management and logistics does play a more important role in their curriculum than with us. So we are focusing more on the consultancy and banking and information technology, because this is what is mostly going on in the Amsterdam area. But these are only about 10 to maybe 20% of the courses of business administration. The core should be the same everywhere. Of course, you could also take a look, where is it? Well, we in Amsterdam, I personally feel, do have an advantage in the sense that, Amsterdam is a really international city, and a lot of big companies, international companies, they're situated, their headquarters situated in Amsterdam. So this is what sets up apart, for instance, from smaller towns like Tilburg or from Maastricht. And if you compare us to, for instance, our sister university at the Free University, also situated in Amsterdam, we're a bigger university, which means that we have the advantage that we have more partner universities who want to go abroad. We have more different minor programs if you want to study a minor, just because we're a bigger university. Well, but don't get wrong ideas. If we talk about bigger universities, you might get the idea, oh, okay, so it's a mass study, too many people, thousands of people going there. No. So basically, we are one of the two only programs in business administration in the Netherlands that have used the numerus fixus. Numerus fixus means that we have only a limited number of spaces. So we wanted to cap it just to avoid that it gets too massive. We started out with just allowing in everybody, ended up with 1,200 first-year students, and that was just not a pleasant experience for anybody. So this is when we decided that we wanted to cap it at 750 students, which most of the time, well, in the 2 last years, we have admitted everybody, so it's not really a big constraint, but we just wanted to avoid that it gets too crowded. So this is basically the business administration program at the University of Amsterdam. Now for the last distinction I want to introduce, business administration, and you can see that we have a sister program, economics and business economics. So what's the difference between business administration and business economics? Because if you check the curricula of the two programs, you see also business economics stuff like finance and accounting. So what's really the difference? Well, the difference is that business administration is more multidisciplinary. Business economics is more monodisciplinary, not really mono, but very few disciplines. It's mostly economics and mathematics. So it's a strongly analytical program with a focus strongly on the financial sector. So stuff like accounting, finance, lots of computations. And if you take a look at business administration, it's really truly multidisciplinary, which means that you also include more of the social sciences. And you have also the managerial side, so the basically managing the people side, as well from the marketing side as from the internal side. So that's the main difference between business administration and business economics. And then it boils down to a question, what interests you more? Accounting and finance, you can do them from both sides, so it doesn't really matter. So the question is, what do you want to do next to accounting and finance, or do you want to do management? then it will be business administration. And if you're really interested in the more mathematical side and economics, then you should probably go for business economics. And maybe also interesting to know, where do our graduates end up? So we have had a poll about our alumni. Where did they end up? Who are companies that hire most of our graduates? And this is basically what you can see there. So if you want to get a little bit of a structure in there, what you can see is that a lot of our graduates are hired by consultancies at big accounting firms. You see Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte, Accenture, KPMG, but you see also big multinationals like Shell, Philips, or Ahold Delhaize. And what you also see is big banking houses like ING Bank or Rabobank or ABN AMRO, and last not least, governmental organizations like the tax office or also the municipality. So this is where our people mostly end up. And this is not too surprising because, like I said in the beginning, you see slight differences, and we are focusing more on this side of finance, consultancy, and so this is what you see back in our employers. Okay, and with this, I'd like to give the stage back to Audrey, who can moderate a little bit the Q&A now about this content part.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. We do have some good questions coming in for you. One was going back to the first year, as you described the program. Someone asked about what do the projects look like in period 3, or I think probably all of the projects. You mentioned that they were group projects, and let's see, I'm going back to the question. Oh, do you do group projects where you work for businesses?
Well, probably the answer would be no. Indirectly, it's yes, though. So, I mean, if you take a look at for businesses, no, but with businesses, yes. So in the second semester, in the project qualitative, and in the second year, in the first semester, project quantitative research skills, you see that in these projects, we need to collect data. And for doing that, you need to go by companies and talk to people in companies, talk to employees, and hold either interviews with them of something like 45 minutes, 60 minutes, to find out certain topics, how they experience, what is going on in their company. So it is of real practical relevance. You're talking with real people and investigate real problems, but it's not that we do it as a kind of a consultancy project for one specific company. It's not that, for instance, Shell comes to us and says, like, we have a work engagement program, can you please investigate? So we have a project, and the topic of the project is given by the lecturer, and then the students have to go to different companies and investigate what's going on regarding to this specific topic in those different companies.
Okay. Thank you. Another question was, what percentage of students passed their first year?
That's an interesting one. I think that the last year was 70% who passed the first year. There was 70%. But this year we have, of course, Corona, so we don't know yet. And this is the numerus fixus year. So this is basically the first year with the numerus fixus. Our hope is that it will be higher than the 70%. And we were good on our way. So after the first semester, we have seen that the dropout, or basically the people who passed their courses, was way higher than before. So based on that, I would have expected that we would get 80%, and then came Corona. So we will see, but my opinion was that with the numerus fixus included, it would have been about 80% without Corona.
Okay. And we have a couple of questions about the third year also. One question is, somebody wanted to ask again about the specializations. Could you tell us what the 4 specializations are?
The 4 specializations are accounting. The second is finance, The third one is management, or management in the digital age. And the fourth one is entrepreneurship, innovation, and creativity.
Excellent. And another question was, where can you go to study abroad?
Ooh, you name it, we have it. So, well, starting out with simple, the big ones. So you could go to New York, or you could go to Singapore, or you could go to Hong Kong or Beijing. So we have basically partner universities all over the world. I can't guarantee if you say like, but I want to go to Beirut, do we have anybody there? I'm not sure. But with more than 100 internationally, plus I don't know how many dozens of partner universities in Europe, chances are very high that at least in the country that you're looking for, we have always a partner university.
Okay. And then two more questions to round things off, I guess. One was, what were the 4 pillars? And another question is, what is the study load like on average for a student in this program?
Okay, so the 4 pillars, let's learn them by heart. So it's organization, people, economics, and methods. Because this is a little bit the kind of discipline-related things that you will encounter. So the more methods is the more math side, and economics are economic problems. For instance, if you want to determine what is a fair price or what is a good price for my product, you might say like, okay, that depends on demand and supply. Then it's a more economic question. The people side is referring to the more social sciences, psychological, sociology, and the organization side is referring more to the strategy side. And those all together, then you have a pretty good solid toolbox to solve any kind of business problem. And as for the study load, what you usually will have is 2 high intensity courses at the same time, and 1 low intensity course. So let's say 2.5 courses per week. It gets down to let's say you should be present and attend lectures of about in total, let's say 13 to 14 hours per week. The rest of the time is free study, which basically means we expect you to read stuff in advance, practice certain exercises so that you're well prepared for the exam. So expect a working load on the average of 38 hours, for around 40 hours, let's say, a normal working week. But those 40 hours, you only have to spend roughly 13 or 14 at the university. The rest you have to study for yourself. But this is kind of standardized. I don't think that you will see big differences across the Netherlands. That's more or less every university who has this kind of schedule.
Okay. And we were about to switch, but we got one more question in that maybe you could answer before we move over to Eva. What master's programs can you do with a bachelor's in business administration?
Yeah, good question, because actually I would say in the Netherlands more than 80% of the graduates, the bachelor graduates, move on to a master. From the, let's say if we graduate in business administration at the University of Amsterdam, we also offer a couple of master's programs, and we do have a master in business administration with different kind of specializations again, like leadership and management, marketing, international business, strategy, digital business. So it comes in a lot of different flavors, but it's the Master of Business Administration. Then we have a Master of Entrepreneurship. And we do have a Master of Accountancy and Control. Actually, we have a Master in Accounting and a Master in Control, but they are all in the accounting area. And we do have a Master in Finance. So the last 2 or last 3, so Master in Accountancy and Master in Control and Master in Finance, you can only choose if you've chosen the corresponding specialization in the bachelor's program. So if in the 3rd year you have chosen for accounting as a specialization, then you can go for either Master in Business Administration, or Master in Entrepreneurship, or Master in Accountancy, or Master in Control. If you've chosen for a specialization in Finance, you can go for Master in Business Administration, Master in Entrepreneurship, and Master in Finance. So the 2 other ones, Master in Business Administration and Master in Entrepreneurship, are accessible for everyone, but the Masters in Finance and Masters in Accountancy and Control, they're only accessible for people with the right specialization.
But a lot of options overall, where to go, where to study in the world, what program to do after the bachelor's. Great. Any last words before we hand it over to Ava?
Well, these are exciting. Well, exciting is maybe not the right word. These are curious times and challenging times. And it's probably a somewhat different meaning of the word experience day than we all would have liked to have. And the future is also uncertain, but maybe what we can tell you is we will definitely start in September. So we have moved all of our programs at the UvA online. So for the time being, we're offering everything online as long as it will be needed. So we are hoping, of course, that at a certain moment, the campus will be opened again. We'll be able to offer courses on site. But as long as this is not possible and not doable, especially also for our international student body, we guarantee that everything will be offered online. So no matter where you are, you can always start studying here in September, and you don't need to worry about something like, what's the situation here? Will I be able to come here in September, yes or no? So we have already said that the full first semester for sure will be offered online, and we will continue with this as long as it is needed.
Sounds great. Yeah. All right. I know there were some questions that people had for Ava. So perhaps you want to tell us a little bit about what you know about the admissions process for next year.
Well, first of all, business administration is a program which has, like Frank already said, a numerous fixes, which means basically that it has a selection procedure. And the application deadline for September 2020 has already passed. So everybody who wants to start in September 2020, but who hasn't applied yet, unfortunately, that's no longer possible. We will definitely, we encourage you to apply for September 2021, but it's no longer possible to apply for this year. The main thing to keep in mind for the selection procedure is that there is a very early application deadline. As you can see on the screen right now, you have to apply before 15th of January 2021 in order to participate in the selection procedure. That's actually the most important thing to remember. In the last 2 years, the selection procedure basically consisted of two parts. Firstly, we would look at your grades from your last completed year of school. So for most students, that was not yet their final year, but the year before, basically. So for Dutch students, that would be VWO 5, or for it would be your IBDP 1 class, for example. And then indeed, to straight away answer some questions about the competitive IB score, we would look at, yeah, of course, the higher your score would be, the better your chances were of getting in. However, it's not necessary for admission. So an IB diploma is enough to prove that you have the level to be admitted to our university. But because it's a competitive program, indeed, the higher you scored, the better, basically. But next to your IB diploma, we would to your final scores from last year, we would also look at a selection test. So every student would take a selection test. We have hosted 5 different days on which you could take a test. 3 of those were in Amsterdam and 2 of those were abroad, so that international students could take the test at their own school. The selection test consisted of 3 parts: economics, mathematics, and strategy. And you had a week to prepare yourself for the test before taking it. So basically then we merged the 2 together. So your GPA, your scores from school, and your score from the test. And we will make a ranking list. So basically the person who did the very best is number 1, and then it goes all the way down to the person who didn't do that well. For next year, however, the new selection criteria for the 2021 intake have not yet been decided. It's always taking a lot of back and forth between different parties before we decide what the actual selection criteria will be. We will keep you posted through the website. It will at least be a test again, but we do not know yet if good grades are again necessary as well. So keep an eye on the website. Also, if you want to know anything about our entry requirements, so which diploma does grant me admission and which one doesn't, you can see it on our website. The website for business administration has a full list of all accepted diplomas and all extra necessities, like, for example, an English test. I see one question about, do we need to write a motivation letter? No, we didn't, because at the moment we have a lot of applicants every year, and we don't have time to read all of the motivation letters, so that's not necessary. That's basically all that I can tell you now. Keep an eye on the website, because the program will open again, and the applications will open in October 2020. So from then until January, you can apply, and you will find all the latest on how to apply, where to apply, and what you need to submit on our website. I think that's it.
All right, thank you, Eva. Yeah, and I saw you were able to keep up with some of the questions as they came in, and during the chat group during Frank's presentation. And one question that maybe you didn't see yet was, how many admissions were there for this year, September 2020? I don't know if you wanted to speak to that.
Well, we don't know the exact numbers yet, of course, because at the moment most high schools haven't given out diplomas yet, or substitutes for diplomas, as we have mostly no real diplomas due to the corona crisis. So people might still cancel, but at the moment we had 1,250 participants in the selection procedure who did the entire thing. So including, like, they uploaded their complete file, then they waited a few months and they had to take the selection test. So they did it all. We started out with a lot more. It slims down in every step of the process, basically. Well, we had 1,250, and we're allowed to admit 750 in the first year. So.
Yeah, and I know, Frank, I don't know if you want to speak to that. Maybe you already did so, but I've heard you say in previous presentations the reason behind the numerous fixes. I don't know if you wanted to speak to that now.
Sure. So the reason was basically to introduce a cap, because a maximum number of students, because the more students you get, well, you have to teach those students, and you have to have the right facility. You need qualified teachers, you need a decent environment to teach them. And with 1,000 students, it becomes pretty massive. So people feel anonymous, people get lost. You have the problem that people don't feel really engaged with their programs. So more people drop out. You see that they don't turn up for lectures. They feel that they are only a number. So we wanted to limit this experience and reduce it and get to a more personal level, reduce the group sizes. And this is why we introduced the maximum number of students, 750. We feel that this is a good compromise between a relatively big number, so that you still feel that you have a big, strong program with lots of diverse student body, but on the other end, not getting too massive and too anonymous. And about the numbers, of course, you never can say who gets in and who doesn't get in. But just to give an idea, with the 1,250, a lot of those people that you make an offer, they need to accept it first. And a lot of people apply at different universities. And some of them would go for Amsterdam because it's their first choice. And others had Amsterdam maybe only as a plan B. So if they get accepted somewhere else, they accept the other offer and they turn down our offer. So this year we have basically accepted everybody who has done the test. This doesn't guarantee that next year it will be the same, but in the last year and in this year, we have done it this way. We have accepted everybody.
Yeah, that's indeed true. I was a bit stricter in how I said it, but indeed, like last few years, it was no problem, because even though more people applied and more people took the test, indeed some preferred to go to Rotterdam or to, well, wherever, and then in the end we end up with we have space for everybody that wants to. Oh, can you give more info on online study? Oh yeah, maybe that's something.
Yeah, Frank spoke to that a little bit. A question popped up. Ava, did you want to finish that thought?
Yeah, I forgot where I was going. But no, no,
but yes, max of 750. But pretty much almost until now, almost everybody who's wanted a spot with us and meets the entry requirements has been able to get one in the 2 years we've had the program, the numerous fixes. Is that?
Yeah. That's basically what I wanted to say, yes.
And then Frank, this question might be one, you spoke to it a little bit already, but people are still curious. This is about how things will work in September 2020. you know, how education will work for the first semester now that we're all studying online?
Well, it will certainly be offered online. So we agreed already on this one. So there is no doubt we will force nobody to come here. So if you're not able to come here, then it's not a problem. You can fully start with the program. Everything will be offered online, all lectures, all tutorials, all seminars. Group work will be done virtually. So everything is organized that way. And for the rest, we have to see what we're able to do and what not. So basically, we're waiting every 3 weeks for what our government tells us what we can do or not do. If the opportunity pops up that we are allowed under certain circumstances, for instance, while keeping 1.5 meter of distance from each other and small scales of not more than 20 people in a room, something like that, if we're able to work on campus again, then we will definitely try to offer that, but it will only be an optional component. So anybody who is not able to join us on campus at the beginning of next year is not a problem at all. Please do start. We will not force you to come if it's not doable in any way because of the corona crisis. Of course, we hope that at a certain moment, whenever that will be, that we will be able to turn back to normal, because we're actually a university that wants to have people there. We're not a long distance learning institution. So we like the good interaction with people, the personal contact with people. But as long as this is not possible due to the COVID-19, then we will offer everything completely online.
And so, and this decision, from what I understand, it's been made covering the whole first semester, that yes. All core components will be offered online. That includes yes. all the classes that you need, all the exams will be given, all assessments, everything can be done online. So whether you're in
totally.
Amsterdam or elsewhere in the world. And the first semester starts September 1st in 2020 and runs all the way through January 31st, 2021. And if
right.
it turns out that in the second semester, we can resume our normal classes all on campus, then we will give students plenty of warning that this will be the case so that they can make their way to Amsterdam and make arrangements for housing and things like that.
Of course, we have to give a long notice for that, because you have to consider that people who come from abroad, they need to organize stuff, they need to move over, they need to find housing. This is not done in 2 or 3 weeks, so you have to signal that months in advance. So, but for the time being, nobody can predict when that would be, how the developments will be with Corona. So we certainly already said we say that for the first semester, we do everything online. And if the second semester would also be possible, we're also going to do it for the second semester. But we don't know yet. And we don't need to decide that yet, but we will do what is needed.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Eva, and thank you, Frank. I think we've answered most of the questions. Yeah, I think we could probably wrap up at this point, unless there's anything more that either of you wanted to add before we say goodbye. No? I was going to say to students that if you have additional questions, you can continue to type them in the chat group, and we will stay here and answer a few. But yeah, before that, let me just say, yeah, once again, thank you, Frank. Thank you, Eva. And thank you to all of you who joined us today for this session. We hope you found out what you wanted to know. And we hope to see many of you either this September, online, of course, or next year in September 2021. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.